In a small village there lived a young man named David. He was a shepherd. Every day he would take his sheep to green pastures, keep them safe, and provide them with food and water. The sheep relied completely on him. David knew that sheep couldn't find their way on their own. They needed a shepherd. One day David's life changed dramatically. He was chosen to be king. But the luxuries of the palace didn't make him forget his humble beginnings. He often remembered his days as a shepherd, watching over his flock. It was during this time that David wrote one of the most beautiful psalms, inspired by his own experiences. He wrote, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." David knew that just as he had cared for his sheep, God was caring for him. He realized that God was his guide, his protector, and his provider. No matter how big his responsibilities became, David trusted that God would lead him to green pastures and still waters. One evening, as David sat in the palace, he felt overwhelmed by the weight of his duties. He missed the simplicity of his shepherd days. That's when he remembered the words he had written, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." He closed his eyes and prayed, "God, you are my shepherd. I trust you to lead me, just as I led my sheep." In that moment, David felt a deep sense of peace. He realized that he didn't need to worry about tomorrow because God was in control. Whether he was in the fields or the palace, God was with him, providing everything he needed. David's story reminds us that no matter where we are in life, God is our shepherd. He knows our needs, our struggles, and our fears. When we trust him, we can say with confidence, "I shall not want," because he will always provide for us. So the next time you feel lost or overwhelmed, remember David's words. Picture God as your Bible verse in story form, Psalm 23:1, extended version. In a small, picturesque village nestled between rolling hills and lush green pastures, there lived a young man named David. He was no ordinary young man. He was a shepherd. Every morning as the sun peeked over the horizon, David would gather his flock of sheep and lead them to the greenest pastures and the clearest streams. The sheep trusted him completely. They knew his voice, and they followed him without hesitation. David, in turn, cared deeply for his sheep. He protected them from predators, guided them to safety, and made sure they lacked nothing. David's life as a shepherd was simple but meaningful. He spent his days under the open sky, surrounded by the beauty of nature. It was during these quiet moments that David often reflected on life and his relationship with God. He saw parallels between his role as a shepherd and God's care for his people. Just as David led his sheep to places of abundance and safety, he believed that God was leading him through life. One day, everything changed. David was anointed as the future king of Israel. It was an unexpected turn of events for a humble shepherd boy. He left the fields and moved to the palace, trading his shepherd's staff for a crown. The responsibilities of kingship were immense, and at times David felt overwhelmed. The weight of leading a nation was far heavier than tending to a flock of sheep. In the midst of his new life, David often found himself longing for the simplicity of his shepherd days. He missed the peace of the pastures and the quiet moments with God. One evening, as he sat in the palace, burdened by the challenges of leadership, David picked up his harp and began to write. The words flowed from his heart. "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." These words were more than just a poetic expression. They were a declaration of faith. David was reminding himself, and all who would read his psalm, that God was his shepherd. Just as David had cared for his sheep, God was caring for him. He was the one who provided, protected, and guided. David's words in Psalm 23:1 carry profound meaning. Let's break them down. 1. The Lord is my shepherd. David uses the imagery of a shepherd to describe God's relationship with us. A shepherd's role is to lead, protect, and provide for the sheep. In the same way, God leads us through life's challenges, protects us from harm, and provides for our needs. The word "my" is personal. David isn't just saying that God is a shepherd in general, he's saying that God is his shepherd. This is a deeply personal relationship. 2. I shall not want. This phrase doesn't mean that we'll never face difficulties or that we'll have everything we desire. Instead, it's a promise that when we follow God as our shepherd, we will lack nothing essential. God provides what we truly need: peace, guidance, and strength. It's a reminder that his presence is enough. David's life was a testament to this truth. As a shepherd, he had experienced God's provision in the fields. As a king, he saw God's hand in the palace. Through every season of life, David learned to trust in God's care. Let's take a closer look at David's journey and how it reflects the message of Psalm 23:1. David's early life, a shepherd's trust. David's days as a shepherd were filled with lessons that shaped his faith. He spent countless hours in the fields watching over his flock. He knew each sheep by name and understood their needs. When a sheep wandered away, David would go after it, no matter how far it strayed. He protected his sheep from lions and bears, risking his own life to keep them safe. One day, while tending his sheep, David had an encounter that would change his life. The prophet Samuel came to his family's home and anointed him as the future king of Israel. It was a moment of divine calling, but David didn't immediately step into his new role. He returned to the fields, continuing his work as a shepherd. During this time, David's faith grew. He saw God's hand in the beauty of creation and in the daily provision for his flock. He learned to trust God in the small things, which prepared him for the bigger challenges ahead. David's rise to kingship, trusting God in transition. When David was called to the palace, he faced a steep learning curve. He went from tending sheep to leading a nation. The responsibilities were overwhelming, and the challenges were immense. There were times when David felt inadequate and unsure of himself. But in those moments, David remembered the lessons he had learned as a shepherd. He knew that just as he had cared for his sheep, God was caring for him. He wrote in Psalm 23, verse 1, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want," as a reminder to himself and others that God's provision is constant, no matter the circumstances. David's trust in God was evident in his actions. When he faced Goliath, he didn't rely on his own strength, he trusted in God's power. When he was pursued by King Saul, he didn't take matters into his own hands. He waited for God's timing. David's life was a testament to the truth that when we follow God as our shepherd, we lack nothing. David's later years, a legacy of faith. Even in his later years, David's faith remained strong. He faced many trials, including personal failures and family conflicts. But through it all, he clung to the truth that God was his shepherd. David's psalm, Psalm 23, became a source of comfort for generations. It reminded people that no matter what they were going through, God was with them. He was their shepherd, leading them through the darkest valleys and into green pastures. What does this mean for us today? David's story and his words in Psalm 23:1 are just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. Life is full of challenges. Uncertainty, fear, and doubt can often overwhelm us. But Psalm 23:1 reminds us that we have a shepherd who cares for us deeply. 1. God knows us personally. Just as David knew each of his sheep by name, God knows us intimately. He knows our struggles, our fears, and our dreams. We are not just a number to him, we are his beloved children. 2. God provides for our needs. When we follow God, we can trust that he will provide what we need. This doesn't mean we'll have everything we want, but we'll have everything we truly need: his presence, his peace, and his guidance. 3. God leads us through life. Life can feel like a maze at times, but God is our guide. He leads us to places of abundance and rest, even when the path seems uncertain. A call to trust. David's life teaches us the importance of trusting God in every season. Whether we're in the fields or the palace, God is with us. He is our shepherd, and with him, we lack nothing. So the next time you feel overwhelmed, remember Psalm 23, verse 1. Write it down, memorize it, and let it sink deep into your heart. When you feel lost, remind yourself, "The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want." Conclusion. David's story is a powerful reminder of God's faithfulness. From the fields to the palace, David experienced God's provision and guidance. His words in Psalm 23:1 continue to inspire and comfort people today. No matter where you are in life, know this: God is your shepherd. He is leading you, providing for you, and protecting you. Trust him, and you will lack nothing. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1. This extended story form of Psalm 23:1 provides a deeper understanding of the verse, connecting it to David's life and offering practical applications for readers today. It's designed to inspire faith and trust in God's care, gently guiding you through life's challenges. Trust Him to lead you to green pastures and still waters, because with Him you lack nothing. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. Psalm 23:1.